Hello, my name is Ector, and in today's build tutorial we're going to learn how to build apartment buildings like this. So let's get straight into it. Now, it kind of really depends how you want to build this as to what materials you're going to use. You can use pretty much any materials what you want. You probably need a primary kind of building material and then some kind of other complementary kind of materials. Okay, now for the primary one, it's something like stone, bricks, that all works well. Clay, any kind of clay would work brilliantly, and of course quartz. The things, and even nether brick, I think you could get away with. The only thing, I would not use wood as a primary kind of building material. That would be my only kind of thing that I'd say. Now, the first thing that I did in order to design this apartment building is I kind of decided how big the kind of window areas would be, and I thought they'd be kind of 3 wide and then 3 kind of long, and it's good to kind of design it with this in mind. Okay, so there you go. So start with something like that. That is a little bit too high, so let's go down one. There we go. So that's 3 by 3 on the inside. I quite like that. Then you want to kind of go about, well, making it better. Seeing what you can do. So what I did is I put quartz stairs like this, okay, to begin with. Like that. I thought, hey, that looks quite nice. That looks pretty good. Maybe we add a little bit of polished, and that looks all right. That looks pretty good. You could maybe even do something a little bit different in the middle like that, and kind of make that part a little bit, a little bit different. Now you've got to think these little sections are going to be multiplied. Okay, so what I then thought was, okay, so if we put that one higher like this, so that and that, there we go. Something like that, and then we have that, and this is where you run into a little bit of trouble, because obviously I can't do the same there again. So you could either repeat the entire thing like that, so that's you get a double kind of quartz layer there, or and this is kind of what I decided to do. You kind of decide to just do the stairs in one way, and you just kind of stick to that the whole way through, so it just becomes like that. It's kind of up to you, but what I would do is design a little section like that, and then multiply it. Just multiply it, like do maybe just like a 4 by 4, and see if that kind of scans well, and if it does, you can kind of start to scale it up. So I kind of use grey stained glass for all of my windows. Kind of up to you. Obviously, if you're on Pocket Edition, Windows 10, or I think consoles, then I don't think you have stained glass quite yet, but I'm sure it's coming soon. So you might have to just use normal glass. But see what works. Play around with some colours on a tiny scale, and then see what you kind of like. And then once you have done that, the next thing I did is you need to plot out. Okay, you very much need to plot out how big you want it. So if you do 3 by 3 like I have, kind of start doing a bit of this, just plotting out, going 3 by 3 there, there. Okay, that's that's not too bad. And then count 1, 2, 3, 4. How many kind of rows you might have, because you might want it even, you might want it uneven. Think about that before you kind of build it up. So I think 5 is better. And then, do you want a square? You could easily do a square. Let's say, I think that should be a square like that, which a lot of apartment buildings are, so you could easily just leave it at that. I decided to make one of my lengths a little bit longer, so that's kind of up to you. Again, try it a bit out, see how you go. Now, the next thing that you want to do is just build, and I would say going into creative for apartment buildings is very much a good thing to do. Build a pillar like that, and then see how kind of big that is from the ground. That is not as big as that. You might want it taller, you might want it smaller. That's a great thing about kind of apartments like this, and because they're in little kind of sections like this, you can scale it up however big or small you might want. So that, I would say, is the next big thing. Scale it up as much as high as you kind of want it. Now here's a little kind of trick that you can use if you want to make your skyscraper or apartment building look a little bit kind of taller than it actually is, and it's called false perspective. So what you've got here, what I've done is I've got a gap of 5 here. Okay, so I've got 4 gaps of 5, and then I switch to a gap of 4, and I do 3 of those, and then I do a gap of 3, 2 gaps of 3, a gap of 2, and a gap of 1. So it just incrementally gets smaller, and what it creates is that it looks like perspective wise it goes a little bit higher than it actually is, and that's called false perspective. And I have actually used that in this skyscraper. You can see here we start at 3, and then all of a sudden it goes to 2 and then 1, and what you get is just a little bit, it just seems like it's shrinking towards the top. So that is something that you very much can use. Now once you've built your kind of grid like this, you can of course just leave it like that and do whatever design you've kind of come up with as a small one, and you kind of map it all out and make it big. You can of course just leave it like that. You could easily just do a very simple apartment building that will still look quite nice. It'll just be quite simple, and that is completely doable. Maybe that's exactly what you're after, so you can easily do that. But to make it look a bit nicer or just enhance it, add a bit more detail, a bit more depth to the actual build, here are a few things that you can do. Now first of all, very simple is here and there you can actually just change the pattern. So maybe rather than making a 3 high, you make a 1 wide kind of window kind of panel, basically like that, and that just kind of mixes it up a little. Now you might think that maybe looks a little bit odd just in like that, but as you can see, I have actually used it in my kind of apartment building. Now this apartment building as well, I should say, is just like all of the ideas almost that I had just put into one build. You don't have to do all of them. It might actually be better to not do all of them, but you can see I've kind of used that there, and on the other side I've actually even just created just a wall as well, just to add depth, and you can use that throughout the build. Now something else you can do is, rather than just having a kind of area like this, you might want to add a little bit more depth like I have done on that bit. So that kind of comes with kind of making the walls a little bit kind of more stand out, they stick out a bit more, and what you could do as well is add a little bit more kind of depth by just insetting the kind of balcony area, and this does work really nicely as a kind of balcony bit. Let's do 1, 2, 3, yeah, and then let's do that. So there you go, like that. And then obviously if we added like a little back bit here and then use some glass panes again like that, that makes a really nice little balcony that you could use. Another little thing that you can add especially is to the corner section. Corner sections could easily be quite boring, not a lot happening, and you can make do with a little bit more. So what I kind of did is I just kind of made a point here, and again used a different material. It's kind of up to you, and I know I said don't use wood, but that was for the main kind of building block material. I think for kind of accents, I think wood works really quite nice. So all I've done here is kind of gone in 2 blocks like that, and then I think what you can do is basically add something like this. So say we had what, 3 high, maybe something like that. There we go. And then you just continue that here. There you go, and that creates a nice little balcony area. Now you could again put the glass panes. I do like glass panes as a balcony, and that looks quite nice. Let's do another one just up here like that. There we go, voila. Let's add you, there we go. And you could easily do something like that on the corner. I kind of even put another pillar right down the center, so instead of having just a corner like that, I added there we go, another pillar. So you could easily do that as well, play around, see what you can come up with, but that's a nice thing to do on the corners. On the side here you can see I've just done I've got 2 walls next to it, and I've just done a kind of entire strip of kind of wood like that, and it just with an inset in like this. Now you could easily kind of You could even add more detail by adding a bit more pattern to that. You could make the pattern out of a completely different material. Do something, like that. Oh, not like that. Like that. You can play around with that, but that again, what all these little things do, they kind of break up the monotony of just having a very, very kind of repeating pattern motif, and they just break it up, and it makes your eyes be able to kind of focus on like certain parts, like that there. You can kind of focus on that there, and it just breaks it up. So nice things to add. And of course, with this, you could easily go all the way around the building and down to the other side. But what I've done here, you can see I've just made it kind of go down into a little staircase. And this is maybe how you could get on to the actual rooftop. And you can see here I've just added some cobble walls. And the last thing that I kind of did is, rather than just ending it when you get to the top of your kind of little pattern, is just I added another little section to the roof part of the apartment building. So very simple. I just kind of made columns, and in some I put like some stairs, just to create a little bit of texture, and in others it was just plain glass. It's a very kind of simple, but I think a very nice kind of way to finish off the top of a building. Now, of course, you could make that taller, you could make it smaller, you could add even different shaped windows, you could just not add it at all. But these are just little thoughts that you can add to apartments to make your builds a lot cooler and hopefully a lot more interesting. And I hope you've kind of enjoyed looking at how I created this apartment building and how you could adapt all of these little things to make apartment buildings yourselves. And hopefully you find this useful. If you do, a like or comment is always very much appreciated, and let me know if you do build any apartment buildings using things that I've put into this video. I'd love to see your builds based on this. And thank you so much for watching. I've been Ector. This has been how to build an apartment building in Minecraft. And I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.